Do Catholics worship Mary? Do they think Mary is more important than Jesus? Let's find out. But before we do that, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell if you don't want to miss any of our videos. Okay, so for Catholics around the world, the Blessed Virgin Mary is lovingly called Mama Mary. She is not just the woman who gave birth to Jesus, but she is also our mother as well. However, according to some, Catholics take their love for Mother Mary too seriously. So seriously that in fact they love and worship Mary and hold her in higher regard than even Jesus. But is this true? Do Catholics really worship Mary? Let's find out what the Church actually teaches. The Church's devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary is intrinsic to Christian worship and is distinct from the adoration to the Holy Trinity. Mary, who has been honored as the Mother of God from ancient times, is expressed through liturgical feasts and Marian prayers like the Rosary. While the Church is quite clear that we do not worship Mary, for some, Catholics not only worship Mary but also the saints. For example, more Catholics probably talk more about Saint Anthony helping them find their keys than they probably mention Jesus. Or looking at the different processions where statues of Saints Mary and Jesus are all taken together, it could look like the saints are not only equal but probably more important than Jesus. While this might seem misleading, it would only be confusing when you don't have a proper understanding of Catholic theology. Like this Protestant pastor, for example.
Mike, the Catechism of the Catholic Church, paragraph 494, references Mary as a sinless mediator who is the cause of salvation for both herself and the whole human race. That begs the question to be asked. Do Catholics worship Mary? And if so, is this blasphemy?
Well, yes, Catholics will say that they venerate Mary, but the word venerate means to worship. And they've elevated her to a godlike status. In fact, in paragraph 961, it says she continues to bring us the gifts of salvation. And so she's robbing Christ of his glory, his unique glory. And Roman Catholics will say they don't worship her, they venerate her, but veneration is a form of worship. And Roman Catholics esteem her so highly. In fact, they've given her titles such as Advocate and Queen of Heaven and Mediatrix. She's a sinless mediatrix. And so she's been given many divine attributes. And so it's easy for Catholics to venerate/worship her. And it is idolatry to worship anyone other than God. We are never to worship anyone other than God because it's stealing glory that he alone deserves. So unfortunately, Catholics are committing the sin of idolatry, and not only with Mary, but also worshiping other statues and saints and praying to them and worshiping the Eucharist.
Let's look at the first part of what he says. They quote CCC 494 as saying that Mary is the cause of salvation for herself and for the whole world, and hence this is proof that Catholics idolize Mary and worship her. But is this what the Catechism actually says? If you look at the entire reference, it's talking about how by saying yes to God's will for her life, she gave herself entirely to the person and to the work of Jesus. It also says that through this yes, she serves the mystery of redemption not on her own but with Jesus and dependent on Jesus. This shows that contrary to the pastor's opinion, Mary does not take any honor away from Christ. Now, the Catechism goes on to explain why Mary's role in salvation history is so unique. It says, Mary's role in the Church is inseparable from her union with Christ and flows directly from it. This union of the Mother with the Son in the work of salvation is made manifest from the time of Christ's virginal conception up to his death. It is made manifest above all at the hour of his passion. The Catechism clearly states that she is also dependent on Jesus for salvation. So the Church does not in any way elevate her to God-like status. The Church simply acknowledges the important role she plays in salvation history because of her willingness to work in union with God's plan for mankind. He then says, CCC 967 says that Mary continues to bring us the gift of salvation. Now, first of all, this is wrong because CCC 961 does not mention Mary. He is actually referring to CCC 969, which states that by her manifold intercession continues to bring us the gifts of eternal salvation. Therefore, the Blessed Virgin is invoked in the Church under the titles of Advocate, Helper, Benefactress, and Mediatrix. So the Church simply teaches that Mary's continuous role in God's grace, from her initial consent to her ongoing intercession, benefits all the chosen ones with eternal salvation. She is a mediatrix and helper because of her intercession. But who is she interceding to? To Christ. So again, there is no question of taking away the glory and honor owed to Christ alone. Any doubt about this could be answered by just looking at the next paragraph, CCC 970, which says that Mary's function as mother of men in no way obscures or diminishes this unique mediation of Christ, but rather shows its power and is entirely dependent on Christ. It also clarifies that no creature can be on the same level as Jesus. In the last part, he says that Catholics venerate Mary, and this is equivalent to worshipping Mary. This is probably the biggest misconception most people have. So to answer this, let's look at what the word worship really means. According to the dictionary, worship means to honor or show reverence for a divine being or supernatural power, or to regard with great or extravagant respect, honor, or devotion. The word comes from the Old English word worship, meaning worthy of honor, respect, or dignity. This version of worship is used, for example, in the courtroom. In the UK, your worship is used to address magistrates, while your honor is commonly used to address judges in many countries across the world. In the Christian context, however, worship was reserved for God alone. The Bible has many references that show this. In the Old Testament, God keeps warning the Israelites to worship Him alone and punishes them when they worship other gods. For example, in Exodus, after the Israelites worshipped the golden calf, Moses makes them a new set of tablets containing the commandments that God wanted them to follow. God warns them to not worship any god other than Him. In the New Testament also, Jesus is very clear. In Matthew 4, when the devil tries to tempt Jesus in the desert, Jesus replies, "Begone, Satan, for it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God, and Him only shall you serve." Over time, as Christian terminology developed, very clear distinctions were made between the worship owed to God and any other honor or devotion to, say, Mary or the saints. The Greek word latria refers to the honor that is due to God alone or worship. On the other hand, the Greek word doulia refers to honor we give saints. It is just a feeling of honor, love, and respect that you give human beings. For Mother Mary, we have hyperdoulia, which is the highest level of respect and honor. This differentiation between worship and veneration is not some new concept invented by the Catholic Church to convince skeptics. In City of God, St. Augustine distinguishes two kinds of servitus or service. St. Thomas Aquinas also explains the difference in Summa Theologia like this: "For God has absolute and paramount lordship over the creature wholly and singly, which is entire subject to His power, whereas man partakes of a certain likeness to the divine lordship, for as much as he exercises a particular power over some man or creature. Wherefore doulia, which pays due service to human lord, is a distinct virtue from latria, which pays due service to the lordship of God." So why does Mary deserve a higher level of veneration than the saints? Because she is the model of faith. She is the mother of God. She is the perfect disciple who perfectly united her will to God's plan of salvation. There is none like her in all of salvation history. Like the Catechism says, she is preeminent and wholly unique member of the Church. When Catholics pray to Mary, they are not worshipping her, but rather seeking her intercession and joining their prayers with hers. They do have a special devotion to her and honor her as the Mother of God. This devotion to Mary is not meant to take away from the worship due only to God, but rather it is a way to honor and venerate the one who is inseparably linked with the saving work of her Son, Jesus Christ. So, what do you think? Do you still think Catholics worship Mary or the saints? Let us know in the comments below. Also, if you like this video, let us know by liking and subscribing to our channel. It helps us a lot. Until next time.